Shock hit first, a cold wave that made my chest tighten. I set the stack of papers down, rubbing the bridge of my nose, trying to steady my breathing.
$1 million.
My son's handwriting on the note was so precise, so familiar, yet the words cut like a stranger's. Problems. That's what he called me now. After decades of working long hours at the plant, after every scraped knuckle and missed holiday,
I was just a problem. I leaned back in my chair,
the old wood groaning under my weight, and stared across the kitchen. The faded curtains swayed faintly with the draft, carrying the smell of fallen leaves from outside. The house was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that pressed on your chest. I reached for the framed photo beside the fruit bowl, Kevin at 8 years old, missing his front teeth, holding up a little league trophy with a grin so wide it nearly split his face. That boy had once run into my arms, shouting, "We did it, Dad!" his tiny hands clutching mine like they were his lifeline. My throat tightened as I set the frame back down, careful not to crack the glass. How had the boy in that photo grown into a man who could write such words? Who could ban his father from his wedding, then turn around and send a bill as if I were nothing but a wallet? The betrayal settled in slowly, heavier than the October light slipping through the windows. I stood, the chair legs scraping across the linoleum, and paced the kitchen. Each step echoed my memories, the nights spent fixing his bike under the porch light, the mornings packing lunches before school, the afternoons waiting in cold bleachers while he played ball.
I had been there, always there.
And now when he was building this new life, he wanted me erased from it, yet still paying for the privilege. I paused by the counter, my hand resting on the coffee maker, the smell of bitter grounds clinging to the air. My pulse thudded slow and heavy. This wasn't disappointment anymore. It was something colder, sharper. I felt the weight of the papers still on the table, their crisp edges catching the light. They weren't just bills. They were proof of how far he'd drifted, how little he thought of me. I sat back down, my hand trembling slightly as I picked up the note again. "Be grateful I allowed you to contribute." I whispered the words aloud, testing how they sounded in my voice. They tasted bitter, each syllable a reminder that my son no longer saw me as a father, just as a means to his end. And yet, beneath the hurt, something stirred. Not rage, not yet, but a steady, tightening resolve. I folded the note carefully, slid it back into the envelope, and set it aside. My eyes lingered on it as the clock ticked in the background. Kevin thought he had written the ending of this story. He didn't realize I still held the pen. I crumpled the note in my fist. The paper crackled like dry leaves. Then, almost without thinking, I smoothed it out and laid it flat on the table.
Rage tasted sour, and I refused to let it steer me blind.
I pushed back from the chair, easing to my feet. My knees complained, but the movement steadied me. The kitchen seemed smaller somehow, the room crowded by memories of dinners and laughter that had long since gone quiet. At the sink, I splashed cold water on my face. The chill woke something in me, but it didn't wash the sting away. Kevin had the gall to erase me from his life and then expect me to bankroll his fairy tale. He'd leaned on my savings, the nest egg I'd built through years of overtime and pinching pennies after Elena died in 2015. I could still hear Kevin's voice from that winter.
"You should have done more, Dad." The words had stung then.
Now they felt like an accusation he'd sharpened for his own convenience. I picked up the pocket watch from the table, its brass cool and familiar in my palm. It had belonged to my father, its chain worn thin by hands that had labored and saved through lean years. The steady tick was absurdly comforting, a metronome for choices that mattered. Bonds, I thought, are supposed to last. Yet Kevin had cut ours as if the past could be ironed away for a better Instagram shot. Victoria's voice had seeped poison into his ear. A pensioner would embarrass their tech exec crowd. So they'd built a perfect scene and shoved the old man out of the picture. A slow, bitter smile curled at my mouth as the raw hurt cooled into something harder. Resolve. I folded the $1 million bill back into the envelope with careful, practiced fingers, not with the heat of a man about to explode, but with the measured calm of someone cataloguing evidence.
Anger was noisy.
Clarity was quiet. If Kevin thought a confrontation would get him what he wanted, he was wrong. He'd shrug me off, call me sentimental, small, but he had also forgotten that he stood on things I had paid for and papers that bore my name. I didn't have to roar.
I would be patient.
First, I would gather facts, bank records, receipts, who exactly signed what.
I'd listen before I moved.
I'd watch how his world was wired, accounts, vendors, the venue's contract, because every perfect picture has a seam, and when I found the gap, I would slip through it. Not for spite alone, but to reclaim what was mine, and to show my son the cost of treating your family like an invoice. My old laptop sat on the counter, a thin layer of dust on its lid, but it hummed to life the moment I pressed the button. Its glow lit up the kitchen like a quiet signal. Time to dig deeper, time to see what Kevin and Victoria were really planning. That small spark of purpose carried me, as my eyes drifted again, to the photo frame I'd left on the table. I picked it up this time, holding it closer. Kevin at 8 years old, his front teeth missing, his hair plastered to his forehead from the rainstorm at Jacobson Park. I could still feel the weight of him climbing onto my lap, small arms clutching me, his voice muffled against my chest. "Don't worry, Dad, you're the strongest." Elena had sat beside us in the car, smiling softly through the storm, her hand resting on mine as if to seal the promise I made that day to always protect him. Now, pacing across the worn kitchen floorboards, the creaks followed me like an old chorus, the scent of stale coffee still clinging to the air. Memories rose whether I wanted them or not, weekends at the ball field, Kevin's laughter ringing out as he finally connected with the bat and tore around the bases. We had been a trio against the world, bound tight in ways I thought couldn't fray. But Elena's death had shifted everything. Kevin was 25 when she passed, already climbing fast at his tech firm, already tasting the wealth and prestige he thought he deserved. That year he turned cold. I remembered one phone call in 2016.
His voice sharp as glass. "You let her down, Dad. If you'd made more money."
Maybe the treatments could have been better. I had swallowed the words, the accusation, even as the truth twisted inside me. He never cared that I'd fought insurance companies, begged specialists, or signed a second mortgage to cover every dime of her care.
He only saw my limits.
He only saw failure. Last Christmas had been the breaking point. I'd bundled tamales into the car, Elena's recipe, her legacy, steaming with the scent of cumin and memory, and driven to their sleek high-rise downtown. I knocked, arms full of the food she loved, and Victoria barely looked up from her phone. Her lips brushed Kevin's ear, a whisper that made him smirk before he spoke. "Dad, we're going vegan now."
And honestly, you showing up unannounced? It's awkward. That word, awkward, hung in the air that night like a slap.
Awkward, after all the years, after the sacrifices, after holding him through storms and through death. Now, sitting alone in my kitchen with his $1 million bill folded neatly on the table, I realized awkward was exactly what he wanted me to feel. Out of place, unnecessary, erased. But I wasn't erased. Not yet, not ever. The laptop screen flickered, waiting for me, and for the first time in years I felt something stir that wasn't grief, wasn't defeat, it was resolve. I'd left early. The drive home, a blur of streetlights feeling like a relic in their shiny world. Now this bill, it was the final insult, demanding I fund their extravagance while they shoved me aside. My fists clenched at my sides as I stopped by the window, watching leaves skitter across the yard. The anger built, a steady burn replacing the nostalgia.
How dare he treat me like a burden, then expect gratitude for allowing me to pay? I wasn't the victim here. Not anymore.
I'd raised him alone after Elena, sacrificed vacations and comforts to give him a start, and Victoria with her designer bags and social media boasts enabling his greed.
No, this betrayal demanded consequences.
I vowed then, silently but fiercely, to turn their perfect day into a lesson they'd never forget. Rain began to patter against the glass, mirroring the storm inside me, and I turned away, my resolve hardening like steel. A momentary doubt flickered. Was I too old for this fight? But I pushed it aside. Justice wasn't about age. It was about dignity. With that thought, I reached for my laptop on the counter, the cool metal grounding me as I prepared to dig deeper. The laptop hummed to life in the dimming light of the room, its screen casting a blue glow across the cluttered table. I settled into the chair, the rain now a steady drum outside, and opened the browser with purposeful clicks. Kevin's social media profiles were private, but Victoria's wasn't. She loved flaunting their life. I scrolled through her posts, each one a stab. Can't wait for our dream wedding at the Ashford estate. Blessed Trust Luxury Living. The date jumped out. November 15th, 2024, just weeks away. Photos showed the mansion, its grand ballroom decked in mock setups, chandeliers sparkling like diamonds. I sipped from a glass of the cheap red wine I'd been saving, its bitter tang sharpening my focus.
Action spoke louder now. No more wallowing.
I jotted notes on a pad. Venue, Ashford Estate, 50k rental. Caterer, elite events, boasting farm totable for 200 guests. Photographer, some high-end pro named Laya Voss. Her portfolio linked in Victoria's comments. Gorgeous shots incoming, Victoria had captioned with heart emojis.
Internal debates raged in my mind.
Should I confront him directly? No, that would give him the satisfaction of dismissal. Better to undermine from the shadows, make him feel the loss of control he so feared. Tab after tab opened. Wedding planner Mark Brennan's site, his bio touting seamless events for discerning clients. A mutual contact on LinkedIn confirmed he was handling it. An old colleague of Kevin had liked a post about the booking. Honeymoon details trickled in from a travel agency's promo. Maui Resort, Overwater Bungalow, all funded by that bill they'd sent me. My anger flared anew at a video Victoria shared her trying on a gown, Kevin grinning beside her.
Daddy's paying for the party.
Indirectly, she joked in the comments, a winking emoji following. Indirectly, the audacity fueled me. I cross-referenced vendors, building a list, florist, DJ, even the limo service. The extravagance was staggering, far beyond what Kevin's salary could cover without my contribution. A hesitation crept in. Was this revenge too far? Risking what little family tie remained. But then I recalled his note again, that condescending privilege, and the doubt vanished. This was about self-worth, teaching him that greed had repercussions. My hand steadied on the keyboard as I found Mark Brennan's contact number, the planner at the heart of it all. With a deep breath, I decided time to make the call, to start unraveling their perfect tapestry, thread by thread. I picked up my phone, fingers hovering over the dial pad. The phone rang twice before a polished voice answered, smooth as polished marble. Mark Brennan Events. This is Mark speaking. How can I make your day extraordinary? I leaned against the kitchen counter, the receiver cool against my ear, steadying my breath. Hello, Mark. This is Stephen Taus. I'm Kevin Torres's father, the one footing the bill for his wedding. A pause, then warmth, flooded his tone. Mr. Torres, Kevin mentioned you'd be calling to finalize payments. We're thrilled you're contributing to such a special event. The Ashford estate is booked solid, and Victoria's vision is coming together beautifully. I let him ramble for a moment about floral arches and string quartets, my mind sharpening like a blade.
Actually, Mark, I'd prefer to discuss this in person. Can we meet tomorrow?
I have some details to clarify. He agreed quickly, suggesting his downtown Lexington office at 10 a.m. I hung up, the click echoing in the quiet room, and poured myself another glass of wine, swirling it as I envisioned his face when the truth hit. No more hiding behind notes and bills. I leaned back in the chair, adrenaline pulsing through me. The meeting with Mark was the first step, and I needed to be ready. I spent the rest of the evening reviewing the bill again, jotting down key figures to keep facts at hand. Before bed, I picked out a clean sweater and slacks.
Nothing fancy, but enough to look serious. As I lay down, I felt the plan solidify like a house's foundation.
The next morning, I woke early, coffee in a thermos, keys in hand, ready to head out. The next morning, I drove through light traffic, the autumn leaves swirling like confetti on the windshield. A brief hesitation gripped me at a red light. Was this the point of no return? But I dismissed it, accelerating as the light turned green. Mark's office was in a sleek building off Main Street, all glass and chrome, a far cry from my engineering firm's old brick setup. I parked and walked in, the lobby's sterile air carrying hints of expensive cologne. Mark greeted me with a firm handshake, his suit tailored, and tie nodded perfectly. "Mr. Taurus, come in. Coffee." He led me to a plush chair opposite his desk, piled with swatches and contracts. A framed photo of a beaming couple under a gazebo caught my eye, stirring a quiet resolve.
That joy wouldn't be Kevin's, not on my dime.
We settled, and he pulled out the file. "So the $1 million covers everything, venue, catering, even the honeymoon deposit?"
Kevin assured me it's all set. I leaned forward, my voice even. Did he?
"Tell me, Mark, did Kevin mention that he banned me from the wedding? That I'm not even invited to this extravaganza I'm supposedly funding?" His eyes widened, the pen slipping from his fingers.
Banned? No, he said.
Family contributions were handled.
This is awkward. Awkward? I echoed, short and sharp.
Try insulting. He sent me the bill with a note saying I should be grateful.
After raising him alone after everything, Mark shifted, rubbing his temple. I don't know what to say.
The contracts are signed, but without full payment, we can't proceed. Deposits are non-refundable, but the balance exactly, I cut in. Inform Kevin the wedding halts until he talks to me directly.
No funds from me, and if he pushes, remind him how fragile plans can be.
He nodded slowly, stunned. I'll call him today. This changes things. As I stood to leave, I overheard him mutter under his breath, "That arrogant kid." It fueled me, a first taste of the chaos brewing. I stepped out into the crisp air, the door clicking shut behind me, and felt the ripples spread like a stone skipped across still water. Standing on the sidewalk, I felt a surge of strength, but knew I couldn't go far alone. Mark was just the start. Kevin wouldn't back down easily, and I needed eyes and ears I could trust. Alex's name surfaced in my mind, his number still saved in my phone, despite years of silence. He knew Kevin better than most, and his new work as a detective could be useful. Sliding into the car, I took a deep breath, feeling the plan take shape, and started scrolling through contacts. In the car, I checked my phone. No missed calls yet, but the silence wouldn't last. As I merged onto the highway back toward home, my thoughts drifted to allies. Scrolling through contacts, I paused on Alex's name, untouched for years. Kevin's childhood best friend, the one he ditched when ambition took over. A quick memory flashed. Alex at 12 showing up at our door after his parents' divorce. Elena making him hot chocolate while Kevin and I played cards to distract him. I dialed before doubt could settle.
Alex, it's Stephen Torres.
Been a long time. His voice came through, surprised but warm. "Mr. T, wow, yeah, how have you been? Everything okay?" "Not exactly," I admitted.
Kevin's getting married, but it's complicated. Can we meet?
"I need your expertise. Heard you're a private detective now with photography skills." He chuckled dryly. "Word gets around, sure. The old cafe on Broadway in an hour." I agreed, hanging up as I turned into my driveway. The house felt less empty, with purpose filling it. An hour later, I sat at a corner table in the cafe, the aroma of fresh-baked scones mingling with falling leaves visible through the window. Alex arrived taller than I remembered, with a detective's keen eyes and a camera bag slung over his shoulder. We shook hands firmly, his grip steady. "Mr. T, you look good. Sorry about Elena, she was like a mom to me too." "Thanks, Alex, and call me Stephen." I slid him a coffee. Kevin banned me from his wedding, but sent a bill for 80 grand.
I'm not paying. I'm fighting back. His face hardened. That sounds like him.
Ditched me years ago when I wouldn't fake a reference for his job.
Said I was holding him back with my small-time gigs.
I nodded, probing gently.
Heard stories like that. Exploited others for his climb.
Oh yeah, Alex said, leaning in, his tone laced with old hurt. In college, he borrowed my project ideas, claimed them as his. When I called him out, he ghosted me. Victoria is the same, all about the image. We planned over refills. He'd document the wedding from outside, capture any fallout with photos and video, ready for public leverage if needed. A mutual acquaintance waved from the counter.
Old Ms. Jenkins from the neighborhood, stirring a laugh.
Remember when you and Kevin pranked her with fake snow in July? Alex grinned, but it faded. Those days are gone. He changed. Mine too, I replied. But this alliance, it's real. We parted with a handshake, ideas swirling in my head like the steam from our cups. What if we need more recordings, logs? I asked, the question hanging as he nodded thoughtfully.
Come by my place tonight, I suggested.
Bring what you've got and let's start prepping for real. Alex grinned, his eyes sparking with enthusiasm. Deal, Stephen. I'll be there at 8, that question echoed as I drove home. Rain starting to patter again on the roof. By evening, I had texted Alex to come over, unable to wait. He arrived at my door, toolkit in hand. The downpour turning the porch light into a hazy glow. Ready to level up? He said, stepping inside, shaking off his coat. We moved to the living room where I cleared space on the coffee table. Dim lamps cast long shadows across the faded rugs, and I handed him a mug of hot coffee, its steam curling like a promise. Show me how to protect myself. Recordings, cameras, the works. Alex unpacked gadgets, a small recorder, hidden cams, even apps for call logs. First, legal basics, he explained, his voice steady and instructional. In Kentucky, one-party consent for recordings.
Hit this button, mid-call.
I practiced on a mock setup. His demo exposing tactics Kevin might use. Gaslighting, deflection. Like when he blamed you for his mum's treatments not working, Alex said softly. I remember you selling your car to pay bills. He ignored that. The words hit hard, pulling a memory.
Elena in the hospital, her hand weak in mine.
Kevin storming out after accusing me of not fighting harder. I shared it briefly, voice catching. She deserved better from all of us. You gave everything, Alex replied, his intonation gentle yet firm.
I owe you. After my folks split, you let me crash here, tutored me in math. Kevin laughed it off, called me weak. We toasted quietly with our mugs to justice, not revenge.
He walked me through camera placement.
Angle it here for the door.
Catch his faces clear.
I tested one, the feed crisp on my phone, a surge of strength rising as the image stabilized.
But as the device hummed, a new thought intruded. What if Kevin called tonight?
Sensing the shift.
Kevin didn't call that night, but I knew the silence wouldn't last. The next day passed in tense anticipation. I checked my phone, tested the cameras, took a walk around the block to calm my nerves.
Every car passing by made me flinch, thinking it was him.
By evening, I was on edge when the phone finally buzzed, his name flashing on the screen. The device hummed softly in my palm, its green light steady, when my phone buzzed on the table, slicing through the evening quiet like a knife. I was midway through brewing tea, the kettle just starting to whistle, steam curling up in lazy wisps. The screen lit up, Kevin. I let it ring, watching the vibration skitter the phone across the wood. A chill draft from the window, echoing the tension, nodding my gut. It went to voicemail, then buzzed again. Victoria this time. I ignored that too, pouring hot water over the tiag, the aroma of chamomile grounding me as I recalled Alex's advice. Record everything. Their words will be your ammunition. A few days had passed since our session, filled with quiet preparations, installing apps, testing angles in the house, even a walk around the neighborhood to clear my head. But now the storm was breaking, the notifications piled up, 3 voicemails, texts, flashing urgent. I sat at the kitchen table, the dim overhead light casting shadows on the walls, and played the first one, finger hovering before pressing. Dad, it's Kevin. There's a misunderstanding with the payments. The planner called, said you pulled out. Call me right away. We need to sort this. His voice started it composed, but an edge crept in like gravel underfoot. I replayed it, noting the panic bubbling beneath, misunderstanding, as if his bill and ban were accidents. The second.
Stephen Victoria here. Kevin's upset.
The vendors are threatening to cancel without your contribution.
Don't do this.
It's petty. Her tone clipped. Superior, like scolding a child. Petty. The word stung, but I smiled, faintly sipping my tea. Alex had warned of this. Desperation masked as accusation. The third voicemail came from Kevin again.
Urgency ramping.
Dad, seriously, pick up. Everything's falling apart. You owe us this after everything. The pause hinted at old grudges, his breath heavy. I listened twice more, analyzing the rising pitch. They implied threats.
Rumors must be spreading.
Mark had done his part. Then a call from an old mutual friend, Mrs. Hargrove, from down the street. Her voice hesitant when I answered briefly. Stephen heard whispers at the club.
Kevin's wedding troubles.
People saying money issues.
Hope you're okay.
Her words sparked a twist. Public whispers already. I hadn't expected the ripple to reach so far so fast.
It fueled me.
A surge of control after years of being sidelined. But as I set the phone down, another voicemail pinged in. Kevin's voice cracking this time.
If you don't fix this, you'll regret it.
The threat hung there, replaying in my mind as I stared at the screen. That threat echoed as the phone rang again the next evening, insistent like a heartbeat in the living room where I paced, the recorder app open and ready. I gripped the device tightly, letting it ring 4 times before answering. A deliberate pause to unsettle him. Hello, Kevin, Dad finally. What the hell is going on? Mark says. You refuse to pay?
You're sabotaging our wedding. His accusation burst out, voice pitching high with frustration.
I breathed steadily, the carpet soft under my feet. Sabotaging. You banned me. Sent a bill like I was a sponsor, not family. Remember your note. Be grateful. A beat of silence. Then he exploded.
Look, it's not like that.
Victoria's friends, the crowd. You're retired, Dad. It wouldn't fit. But the money, you owe it.
After Mom, after the struggles you caused.
The jab at Elena twisted like a thorn, but I stayed calm, recording every word.
I raised you alone.
Sold what I had for her care. You blame me then?
Ignore me now. No, Kevin, no payment.
You're ruining everything. He shouted the words raw. Victoria's furious. The caterers want deposits. The estate's holding the date, but threatening fees. Fix it. I paused, drawing strength from the pocket watch on the side table. Its tick a reminder of enduring dignity.
Fix what you broke.
Talk to me like a son, not a banker. Then Victoria's voice cut in.
Speakerphone. I realize, Stephen, this is ridiculous. We're building a life.
Your pettiness could cancel it all. Think of the embarrassment. Her interruptions spiked the tension, her tone laced with disdain.
Embarrassment?
Like banning your father-in-law.
I think of the bill you sent.
The honeymoon you expect me to fund while excluding me. Yet Kevin jumped back in defensive. It's duty, Dad, family contributes.
Admit it, you're jealous of my success.
The admission slipped out.
Jealousy as his excuse.
And it hit like a revelation exposing his ego, I countered firmly. Success built on using people. Not anymore. The line crackled with his heavy breathing. You'll regret this. We're done. He hung up abruptly, the silence ringing in my ears, his words echoing as a key slip, a vulnerability laid bare that sharpened my resolve. That vulnerability lingered in my thoughts as I paced the hallway. The house quiet except for the faint hum of the fridge. Moments later, a text alert chimed.
Alex update.
Vendors demanding payment.
Rumors flying at the estate. Photos incoming.
I opened the attachment. Blurry shots of workers pausing setups, a florist van idling uncertainly. The images fueled me. But then Kevin's texts flooded in. Selfish old man. Destroying our day over ego. Short, stabbing accusations glowing on the screen. I scrolled heart steady when the neighbor's call came. Mr. Ellis from across the fence. Stephen saw Kevin yelling at a delivery guy yesterday.
Rude as hell, demanding discounts like he owned the place. His voice gruff. Supportive.
Heard about the wedding mess. If you need backup, I'm here. Remember how he snubbed us at the block party?
Acted too good. I leaned against the wall, phone to ear.
Thanks, Ellis. What exactly happened with the delivery? He chuckled dryly. Guy dropped off invitations or something. Kevin beread him for a crease, said, Do you know who I am? Victoria just watched.
Folks are talking, vendors pulling out.
The anecdote painted Kevin's arrogance vivid, a snub echoing his treatment of me. Appreciate the intel. Keeps me going. No problem, Ellis replied, warm. You've got community here. He doesn't. We hung up and I texted Alex back. More from neighbor.
Kevin's alienating everyone.
His reply perfect.
Escalation incoming, preps faltering.
But as I set the phone down, a new text from an unknown number popped up. Perhaps a vendor hinting at deeper trouble. Mr. Tao's re-wedding cancellation fees. The words trailed, spiking a fresh wave of urgency as the ticking clock on the mantel seemed to count down to something inevitable. The grey light of dawn seeped through the curtains on November 15th, 2024, the wedding day, as rain began to patter against the window panes like impatient fingers. I'd woken early, the ticking clock from the night before still echoing in my ears, a reminder of the urgency building over the past week. Those days had slipped by in a rhythm of quiet vigilance, monitoring updates from Alex, ignoring the escalating texts from Kevin, even taking long walks in the crisp Lexington air to steel my nerves against any wavering doubt. Now as I checked the weather app on my phone, forecasts of steady downpours mirrored the storm I'd orchestrated, a symbolic deluge washing away pretenses. I brewed coffee, the rich scent filling the kitchen, and settled at the table with my device ready. Alex's first text came at 7 a.m. at the estate. Vendors arriving or not? Photos soon. I sipped slowly, the mug warm in my hands as images trickled in. Florists unloading vans only to repack half the arrangements, their faces pinched in frustration under umbrellas. Deposit issues, one caption read. They're leaving. The chaos unfolded in real-time snippets. A caterer truck idling. Workers boxing up crates of untouched china and silverware. Rain slicking the driveway into a glossy mess. Guests started arriving around noon. Alex's covert shots showing confused clusters under tents. Umbrellas blooming like dark flowers. Overheard, where's the setup? His message pinged. I ignored a flurry of calls from Kevin, the phone vibrating like a trapped bee on the table. Voicemails piled up.
I played one, his voice frantic.
Dad, send the money now. Everything's falling apart. The estate manager's threatening to shut it down. The desperation cracked through, a far cry from his earlier arrogance. More photos. The grand hall half-dressed, chairs scattered half-haphazardly.
No sign of the string quartet.
Then a shot that twisted something inside me. Victoria in her gown, expression crumpled, rain streaking the mansion windows behind her like tears. Doubt flickered briefly. Was this too cruel, turning their day into a spectacle? But I recalled the bill's condescension, the band that cut deeper than any rain, and the doubt dissolved into quiet satisfaction. Justice wasn't gentle. By afternoon, Alex reported, guests milling, some leaving, rumors spreading, family feud over funds. I paced the room, rain drumming steadily outside, envisioning the humiliation unfolding miles away. Another voicemail from Kevin pleading, please Dad, wire it.
Guests are laughing. Help!
A guest's murmur in Alex's audio clip. This is a disaster. Poor planning. The downpour intensified, sheets of water blurring the yard, as if nature itself amplified the reckoning. But then my phone rang again, Kevin's name flashing, his voice on the edge when it went to voicemail. Mid-R. That mid-ring plea hung in the air as I let it roll to voicemail once more. The sound swallowed by a sudden pounding on the door, insistent and heavy amid the downpour. Rain dripped from the eaves and steady rivulets pooling on the porch steps. I approached slowly, peering through the peephole. Kevin and Victoria, disheveled in pajamas under hastily thrown coats, hair plastered wet, faces pale and drawn. I opened the door a crack, the cool mist spraying in. What are you doing here? Kevin pushed forward, water dripping from his sleeves onto the entry rug, forming a small puddle like an unwelcome intrusion. Dad let us in. The wedding's ruined, vendors left, guests scattered in the rain. It's a joke now. Victoria huddled behind him, her makeup smudged, gown peeking absurdly from under her coat.
Stephen, please wire the money.
We can salvage something. I stepped aside reluctantly, closing the door against the wind. They stood dripping in the hallway, the familiar scent of my home clashing with their desperation. Salvage, after banning me, demanding I pay like a silent partner. Kevin ran a hand through his soaked hair, voice breaking. It was a mistake.
Victoria's idea, the image, you know.
But now everything's collapsed.
Help us, Dad, for old times.
I crossed my arms steady despite the emotional pull. A flashback hit during the pause. Kevin as a teen after Elena's funeral, accusing me of weakness while I buried my grief in work.
It fueled me. Old times like when you blamed me for Mom's death, ignored me unless you needed cash.
Victoria interjected, her tone wavering for once, vulnerability cracking through. We didn't mean it's the stress. The honeymoon's booked, deposits lost. Think of us. Think of you? I echoed, calm but pointed. Would you value me without my wallet?
Answer that.
Kevin hesitated, eyes darting. Of course your family, but success means standards.
Please just transfer it.
The admission standards over bonds hung heavy, exposing the shallow S.
No, Kevin, this is the consequence.
Greed has a price, he begged, then voice rising.
You're destroying us, guests whispered. Vendors mocked. Fix it for your son.
Victoria clutched his arm, whispering urgently. But I shook my head. Go learn from this. As I moved to open the door, Kevin's final words tumbled out. Raw. Wait, Dad, I regret it, all of it. The rain roared outside and I closed the door on them, their footsteps retreating into the storm, resolve lingering like the echo of his regret. That echo faded into silence as I turned away, sinking into the armchair by the window, rain streaking the glass in fading patterns. Their car lights pierced the dusk before vanishing, leaving the house wrapped in a comforting hush. The next few days blurred into reflection, fielding calls from curious neighbors, sorting through the emotional debris, even burning the original bill in the fireplace one quiet evening, its ashes a symbolic release. By week's end, Alex texted confirmation.
Full collapse.
The state refunded partial, but reps tanked. Buzz got me new clients thanks to the fallout. I called him, the line crackling warmly.
Stephen, you did it.
Photos show the empty tents, guests bailing, Kevin's circles whispering arrogance. Bit him, I leaned back, glancing at an open photo album on the table, faded images of happier times, stirring but not overwhelming appreciate. Your help feels freeing, he laughed lightly any time heard.
From him not since, but maybe he'll learn.
Chatted about old pranks, the conversation turning to future plans. Perhaps a trip for me unburdened later. An unexpected outreach. Mrs. Hargrove emailed, inspired by the rumors. Stephen, your stand reminded me to value real ties.
Coffee soon?
It warmed me, alliances blooming from the chaos, I muttered to myself, over a solitary toast with coffee. To dignity reclaimed, the home felt fuller, not with things, but with self-worth. Kevin's lesson might sting, but growth often did. Hints of his regret suggested seeds planted. As the rain finally cleared, I stepped outside into the crisp air, sunlight breaking through clouds, a new path unfolding before me. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.